So there I was, sitting on top of a mountain looking down at the city and thinking of an interesting challenge for a video, when suddenly my phone rang. It was my girlfriend asking if I vacuumed and washed the dishes like I promised. So I rushed back home, and while I was speedrunning through my chores, I came up with the idea of going into Dalgarian dungeons in Sandbox, clearing them and defeating the golem back to back without any healing to see how many times I could finish this. And well, let's just say this version went downhill fast. I quickly realized that clearing the whole dungeon adds a whole layer of difficulty that I wasn't really prepared for, which is why I made the first change and I no longer have to kill everyone. So I just snuck through the whole dungeon, killing just a few enemies until I reached the golem, and I was honestly still thinking that this will be easy. I was trying to be all funny and hyped up until he hit me for the first time and took 20 health off.
Already? He doesn't mess around. I don't as well.
When I noticed how much it hurt, it started to dawn on me that this might go much worse. And when he lit me on fire just a few moments later, I started to lose hope for the whole video. I did manage to destroy one of his crystals, but he almost set me on fire again. So I started to strategize. I waited for him to attack so I have enough time to climb up, and soon I was already destroying another crystal. Then a disaster struck. And after I said these few words, I haven't recorded anything until the next day.
Hold on. Let me workshop this idea.
Which is when I came back with a reworked idea. I started back in Sandbox, but this time I actually geared up into my standard armor, took a few weapons good for destroying crystals, and I also installed a mod that will let me spawn golems wherever I want, plus a modded map featuring an epic arena. And to switch things up a little bit more, I added this rule.
We're gonna do it this way. I'm gonna spawn a golem, there. And the first 5 golems are gonna be the same low-level golem. If I can manage to do that, I will up the level of the golem. And we're gonna do that for the next 5, and so on until I perish.
The fight has begun, and even though I got hit for 20 health in the first encounter, I did much better than before, like much better. There might have been some close calls, but I took him to the last crystal.
I'm on him, somehow. Yes. He's doing the thing. Ow! God damn it.
Yeah, it did not look good, and although I managed to defeat him, I was worried for the rest of the challenge again. My strategy for the other golem was to wait for a good moment to strike, but when I have the chance, go aggressively, so I can destroy as many crystals fast as possible. I did somehow lose another 10 health during this encounter, but the next one was very successful. Until it wasn't, I guess.
On top of him. And run!
My hopes were crushed as my VR character fell quickly into the void, but after some time I managed to gain back energy to try again. First golem was over quick. I also started to learn when to attack and how to avoid his attacks, and even though he hit me for 10 health, I defeated him in just a minute. And with this newly gained confidence, I spawned another golem.
Damn it.
Yep, it happened again, and I started to really question why I chose this map. And because I'm pretty bad at losing, I started to feel impatient and started rushing things. The first golem was surprisingly simple, but the second one was again a really big problem. And even though I was taking things slow, I got backhanded into oblivion and lost again. And yet again, I started to question this challenge.
Yes. Oh. I feel like this challenge is changing its name as I go. It was meant to be how many golems can I kill back to back, and now it's more like can I kill even 10 or 3?
Now normally I would just lose all hope and give up, but not this time. I also said to myself I have to stop doing that in general. So even though I got hit multiple times for 45 health, I actually managed to defeat 3 golems back to back. I also started to feel some confidence until the 4th one really quickly showed me how fast this could end. Which it did, just moments later. I had like 15 health, and I guess the touch of his hand just finished me off.
No, please stop it! Run! What just happened?
When that happened, most of my hopes went out the window. So I just kind of tried some different things in another run and thought of what I've learned from the fight so far. But what happened next made me just end the recording and take another break.
What? I lost an arm during that?
After a few hours, while sitting on the toilet, I put together an idea. I realized how I need to fight the golems, getting behind them when they're trying to throw rocks, and always wait for the right moment, never overdoing it. I also realized that even though the arena map looked very cool, it was for one really dark, so not the best for a YouTube video, and two, I despise being thrown off the edge. So this was my solution. Bright and endless map, great for fights with golems. I geared up with the same armor, no magic, no healing, a few blunt weapons, and a bow with only one quiver of arrows, so picking them up is crucial. I want to use a bow because I found out how useful they are in the previous fight, but I understand that they could be pretty overpowered, so I'm limiting myself to just one quiver. Oh, and I also turned off my mic for this run because when I talk, I stop focusing on the game, and I was pretty invested at this point. Right away, I felt much better. I did get hit a bunch of times, but I went through 2 golems pretty quickly, dying on the 3rd one. But since I figured out their attacks, I was starting to feel some confidence again. And on the 2nd run, you could see that I started to really believe. Not only that I understood their attacks, when to fight, when to run, and when to keep some distance, but using both blunt weapons and the bow, I separated the crystals into the ones in front of his legs being the easiest and usually the first I would destroy with a mallet. The ones on his chest or the sides of his arms, I would try to get with a bow. And the ones on his back, I would get by waiting for the right moment and climbing up on his back. And this plan really worked. I did lose 50 health by the time I finished fighting the 5th golem, but I knew exactly what to do to not get hit, even details like pushing myself off him when I'm holding on because being around him is quite dangerous. You either want to be farther away or right under him, at least for the first level, because after defeating the first 5, I'm going up a level, meaning they will have more abilities now. And even though the electric beam, for instance, scared me at first, I managed to defeat the 6th one without again losing any health. In the 7th fight though, I quickly ran out of arrows, and because things like to despawn, before I successfully defeated the golem, most of my arrows were now gone, so I went into the 8th fight with just 3 arrows, but still with 50 health and now 7 crystals. The bow and arrow were very useful for getting the more scary crystals, but having to pick up the arrows as I fought starting to seem quite dangerous, which got even worse because after 8th fight, even though I have 50 health, I now have only 1 arrow. So the mission now is pretty straightforward. Stay focused, don't rush, and defeat at least 2 more so this video could have a happy ending. The 9th one was going pretty well until he surprised me with this ability. And although it did almost nothing, my heart almost escaped my body. But what did hurt was when he hit me moments later, dropping me down to 27 health. This wasn't looking good at all. With me figuring them out and already getting 9 crystals, I was still stressed but much more confident than when I started this challenge. And I figured out that I just need to wait for them to throw the rock so I can attack. Plus, I can easily hide behind the many pieces scattered around us. He did surprise me with this electric shield ability again, but did almost nothing, and now I needed to destroy just a few crystals in front. And here it was, 10 crystals, 25 health. But with that done, I now wanted to see how far I could take this. So I raised the golem's tier again and spawned another. These guys have some new fighting moves, but can also use fire now. And even though the flamethrower ability can be easily dodged, the fire shield did surprise me again and dropped me down to 19 health right before I defeated the 11th golem. And I don't know if it was for having too much confidence or how tired I was at this point, but after destroying a few crystals of the 12th golem, I was yet again swiftly backhanded into oblivion. although I didn't know how difficult this challenge would be and I had to change it a few times, I was very happy with the final version and I honestly think I could get even higher than 11. So I'll say that every 10 likes, I will defeat one golem in the next part of this video. So you have about 3 weeks to make my challenge harder and harder. Anyways, huge thanks for watching to the end and huge thanks to my members. Subscribe if you enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one.
That was 3.5 killed.